Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today we're going to dive into this episode, and it's going to be a more of a discussion-like episode. Not really, I don't really know how to explain this. I'm going to be going over the theropod family tree or the theropod part of the dinosaur family tree that I created, and kind of show where dinosaurs are a little bit, but also kind of talk about some things. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. So you're going to start with, of course, the proto-theropods, if you will, the ones that are kind of pre-theropodal, which kind of start before you actually get into the theropod section where it starts to actually break off, like Herrerasaurids, you got some one-offs, and then you got coelophysides, which eventually should turn into coelophysis, of course. Then you get into neurotheropods. So premaximal maxilla kink, Furcal manual digit 5 lost, 5 or more sacrals, enlarged hip muscles, pendle digits 1 and 5 reduced. So that's for coelophysids. Theropods, blade-like sharp teeth, promaxillary fenestra, intramandibular joint. Sorry, losing my mind there. Mnemonic. So these are like little things that I kind of wrote in there to teach about the evolutionary. So like reduce number of maxillary teeth. Maxillary teeth are all anterior or to orbit. Some words are fancy science words. So you got some more neotheropoda, like the Dilophosaurids, some of the first theropods out there. Yeah. And then you get into Everosta, and you get is where the tree really splits off. It splits off into Teaturnura and Ceratosauridia. Ceratosauridia is the one that blows up the most. So you have Strophus, and then we're going to look at Noasauridia first, and that kind of goes into this little tree here. Noasaurus right there. Nosaurus. And then that also splits off from Eulophosaurinia. So there you go. There's that for those of you that like that. And then, of course, you have some evolutionary things between that and then actual Ceratosauria. And then you have eventually 2 Ceratosaurs. But this is something that I've always, but this is something I find interesting. Ceratosaurids, like, turned into Abelisaurids. Short snout, short rounded snout, squat thickened teeth, highly reduced forms. So, I mean, I guess that just means that like Ceratosaurids just got really good at hunting sauropods, since most Abelisaurids, I'm not going to say all, but they're kind of like sauropod hunters. So some Ceratosaurids got really good at hunting sauropods and turned into Crypto and Rugops, and then Majungasaurids evolved into existence. You have Rajasaurus there, Majungasaurus there. And then you have Carnosauridia that evolves. And then it kind of shoots off some more of the iconic Abelisaurid look right there. It keeps going. Furyliosaurus. And of course, it keeps going, and that's a new boy, new to discovery, ending with Abelisaurids and Carnotaurus and Accusasaurus. But we're going to come back down to the Titatunera. And there are some, of course, offshoots. There's always going to be just some random offshoots. There's Cryolophosaurus, Monolophosaurus, Orionoids. You have Carnosauria. That's Megalosauria and Avatheropoda. But we're going to go down Avatheropoda first, which begins with my personal favorite. Actually, we're going to do Megalosauria first. Panitskisauria. So we have some interesting Panitskisaurias that kind of break off, including this guy that kind of looks like he has a club tail, but I think it's just feathers. Then you have Spinosauridia, Megalosauria, that breaks off into Spinosauridia, and you have like Baryonyx and that. You have Centrosopsinus, which is Riparivenator, Ceratosucops, and you have Baryonyx, of course. That keeps going. Ichthyovernator, Irator, Sigillamasco, Spinosaurus in question. There's possible species. I do not remember where. There is Suchomimus, one of my personal favorites. Megalosauria, Estioreptospondylus. Of course, it's Estioreptospondylus. And they actually have Megalosauria. This is kind of the Afrovenatornia, which of course you get Afrovenator and some other offshoots, including Pivotilosaurus, if I think I'm pronouncing that right, and another species of Megalosaurus. But Megalosaurini is where this is where the Megalosaurus kind of kicks in and was founded. This is like one of the first dinosaurs found, so it's got this unique kind of history to it. You have like Torvosaurus. But then we're going to come back down here. We're going to go to Allosauridia before Coelosauria because that kind of keeps going. You have Metrocanthosauria. Of course, those break off, and you eventually get another species of Megalosaurus, apparently, in Metrocanthosaurus somewhere. Then you have Allosauridia. You have the three main species of Allosaurus. There are three more, but they are not quite recognized. Gymnodicinia, Europus, and Fragilis. And there's Saurophagonax, the crazy thing itself. You have Nervotordia. And you have Carcharodontosauria, which then like breaks off. You have Concavenator there. Carcharodontosaurids here that kind of appear for the first time. Then you have Acrocanthosaurus that breaks them off. There's another offshoot, and this could possibly be there. I was kind of I found multiple sources that were like, okay, it should be in either of these spaces. So I was just kind of lenient. But then Carcharodontosaurids actually come back as a big thing later on in several places, actually. Along with Gigantosaurus and Mapusaurus, Tyrannotitan. So these are all like future evolutions of Allosaurus. So these are like the top Allosaurus of any time, basically. But then we're gonna come back up here. Ooh, excuse me. Coeliosaurus. This is where it actually breaks off into all the different crazy, funny bits. You get some one-off shoot-offs, Theropoda, Maniraptor forms, Tyrannosaurids. I know the part that everybody's been waiting for. This breaks off. It breaks off here to Urtyrannus and Sinotyrannus and things like that. Those are Proceratosaurids, and you have Pantyrannosaurids that kind of break off into Megaraptora. So they got their own sections, ends in like a little map here. Megasauridia. Tyrannosaurids is where we actually start to kind of get the main looking Tyrannosaurus side. Tryptosaurus, Appalachosaurus, Bastiever, Tyrannosauridia. So this is like Albertosaurini. You have like Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus. You have Nanotyrannus possibly here, Tyrannosauridia. You have Aleoramus. So this is where it actually becomes Tyrannosaursy, if you want to get technical. So they start losing digits. They start getting bigger. You have like Nanucosaurus here, Asia Tyrannus there, Displetosaurus. You got Displetosaurus in there. Then you actually get down all the way to the bottom with Tarbosaurus, and these is the sister taxon to the two Tyrannosauruses, Tyrannosaurus Rex and Macrinus. So that is the fun part of that. So like there is a lot kind of going on there where of course you have and then you have this thing. I'll get to that in a second. That's a nightmare and a half apparently. And then you have Compsognathids up here if we go back to Maniraptor forms. Of course that is the small little critters from like Jurassic Park. That is the most famous example I can give. But then you come down here, Ornithomimosaurs. So you have where they kind of start looking like Dinochirids is the one main shoot off. That's kind of what's going on here. Where they should be in the Therizinosaur section, in my opinion, but apparently not. But they start turning into the Gallimimus like look. Yeah, Gallimidia. You get like actual Gallimimus and things like that. Actually, Gallimimus is down in the Ornithom. This is Mimidia. This is Ornithomimidia. And this is where you actually get like Ornithomimus, Gallimimus, Ornithomimus. There's another Gallimimus. You get Struthamimus and things like that, where it actually comes down into the final points of Gallimimus. Come back up here, of course. Oh, what is this one? These are very unique. This section is very unique. Alzersordia. Oh yeah, it actually kind of goes. They're pretty small critters. Oop, I did not mean to do that. You get some like very weird one-off, one-digit things. You got like small but powerful arms, reduced manual digits 1 and 2. Acromanosaurus is advanced forms. This is like Mononychus, where they get all the like really weird, unique one-finger arms. Yeah, that's just like a whole weird digit in itself. Then you have Therizinosaurus. Therizinosaurus. Ooh, excuse me. That kind of comes up, and then you get like actual Therizinosaurus up here. You get all the crazy big death claws up here. You get some shoot offs. But then you come back down here. All right, we'll do Oviraptoriosaurus first. You kind of breaks down. You got some smaller, crazy ostrich looking things. They kind of start looking like what are those things called? Castuaries, like Anzu and things like that. They start looking like castuaries apparently here. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow one of these things survived and turned into castuaries. Like that just kind of looks like a castuary. What is that? Gonzalsosaurus. Like that thing looks like a castuary. So we're gonna come back up here. Dromaeosauridia. This is the famous raptor-like section. You kind of get like the proto-raptors, and you actually get where they start to look like raptors. It breaks off here into some smaller raptorid sections, of course, and then breaks over here, and you get Velociraptor mongolius and things like that, Adasaurus mongolius and Curacalia. And you come back up here and you get some of the larger Dromaeosaurus, Utah raptor, Dakota raptor, Blairodoc, Artrilobator, some of the bigger Dromaeosaurini. Then you have Troodontia, which are also kind of raptor-like. They're very small, and they're kind of just like small Raptoridia, and like you look at it and they kind of turn into raptors themselves a little bit. It's a little foreshadowing over here, but don't look at that yet. So you get some like crazier looking things, like whatever this fancy fella is. I don't know what I did there. So we're gonna go past that. We're gonna go up here a little bit, and you get some like very bird-like looking creatures here. This one just starts to kind of just straight up turn into birds. You get some very weird, creepy things. Like if I saw that today, I'd call that a bird, but it's not a bird. It's technically a dinosaur. So you get very fun, confusing things. This is where like the end of the lineage kind of starts. You start to get more bird-like creatures, Confucianorids, twin tails, things like that. So you get like Confucianorids, and you come down here, you start getting other bird-like creatures. If you come down further here, actually, I'll go over here first. You can start to see like the actual rise of like modern bird-looking creatures, where they just start to straight up look like birds, like Hesperornis and things like that. And then it eventually just comes to modern birds because they just are modern birds at some point. Yeah, Hesperornis, that crazy section where they kind of look like penguin ducks. I'm gonna go back over here. Where it really just starts to turn into modern birds after a while, but they're still technically dinosaurs. But yeah, I mean that is just a modern bird. But yeah, so theropods have a long history of being this very unique case of evolutionary, not bias, but standpoint. They're still alive today because modern birds are technically related to them. Maniraptor forms are although I think they're in a different taxon now, so it doesn't quite count exactly, but that's a different discussion. But yeah, this is the theropod family tree. But before we close this out, here's a quick word from our sponsor. So take it away.
Thanks, Podcast Eric. Now let's talk about today's sponsor, Dinosaur Trips. If you love looking at these amazing creatures that I show you, and even talking about these amazing creatures that I talk about, and you want to go see them in real life, I heavily suggest you look at Dinosaur Trips. Dinosaur Trips, created by Zach, gives you behind the scenes in look at museums, and he even takes people out to digs. So if you sound interested in that, go to www.dinosaurtrips.com and tell them that Prehistoric Life sent you, and they will give you $250 off your tickets. And here's their Instagram if you're interested in giving them a follow.
So yeah, thank y'all all so much for listening and watching. If you want to see more content from me, go check out my Instagram page at Prehistoric Life Podcast. I post a lot more content there that you can look at and listen to and watch. If you want to see my content 2-ish days in advance, go check out my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on there, go just like and subscribe. And if you want all of my content in one place, go check out my website, prehistoriclifepodcast.com. From there, you can get to my YouTube and my Instagram. And that is all I have to say for now. I am your host, Eric Crawford, signing off. This has been Prehistoric Life Podcast. I will see you all next time. And remember, keep it prehistoric. Bye.